Hey everybody, it's Ed O'Keefe and welcome to a uniquely different episode for the Ed O'Keefe Show. I am out here at my lake house on 4th of July weekend. The babies are playing with the neighbor kids and my wife is out doing some shopping. So I have a brief window to kind of do like something different that I'm going to call the time collapsing files. And the book is done. The book is off. It's out of my hands, and it is in the hands of now the layout people. The editor did her work, and I skimmed everything yesterday and had to say goodbye as the next phase of that journey will begin. And so what I thought would be kind of cool is as I go through the book, as I was going through it yesterday, I was thinking about how much more there is behind so many of the principles that I taught in the book. In the book, when I sent it to the editor, it was 250 pages long. When it came back to me yesterday, it was 170 pages long. So my editor definitely chopped away what she might feel as slowing down the pace and some other things. And you know, one of the hardest things about doing a book is that it's something that once it's out there, you can update it, you can revise it, but you can't change what has left the station. You know, like, so if you purchase it, whatever was written is gone, is there. And so that's one of the hardest things because I like to speak. I like to talk my ideas out. And I enjoyed writing them. And if you read the book, you'll notice some chapters are from me speaking, kind of how we are right here. And other chapters are me sitting there and writing. And I noticed that I have two totally different voices when I'm writing. I tend to have more time to step back, think, research, and possibly pull ideas together. Whereas, you know, when I speak, it's kind of the opposite, where I get to flow a little bit more. And both of those have their benefits, and both of those have obviously some setbacks. But nonetheless, I thought what I would do with the time collapsing files is each week or every other week, whenever I decide to post a solo episode like this one here, we take an idea or concept and go deeper, and maybe give you the backstory behind where it came from. And that may have not, most likely did not make the book, because the backstory might be 10 to 12 minutes long to tell the whole story, which in a book was around 10 to 20 pages of writing. And when you're trying to get a concept like time collapsing, which the whole idea behind time collapsing, the simplest way to explain it is how to shrink the point at which it takes you to go from A to Z, you know, to shrink it down, where where mere humans would take a year, we can do it in a month. We find ways to what's the process and system that allows us to do that. And it's beyond a hack. It's not just hack, even though it may be considered a total time hack and life hack or performance hack, but I hate using the word hack. I don't really like that term. I believe this is more of a process and system that you can apply to anything. In the book, we do a heavy emphasis on entrepreneurism, and let's start there. That was one of the tough parts to decide, like, which direction are we going to go with this, because this process can apply to everything. It involves accelerated learning, the leapfrog theory, which the leapfrog theory states that you have no moral obligation or right to walk your way or work your way through the ranks. But at any given time, you can decide to leap to the top of any endeavor or field or profession or market and claim your right? And that was one of the most profound ones. And you can apply this to anything. When coaching sports or competing myself, the leapfrog theory is a huge one when taking teams, when looking to reframe how teams think about what's possible, to get them to go from, not being expected to perform really, really well and beat higher ranked teams to performing really well and beating higher ranked teams. And the first place I ever used that was with coaching, coaching sports, because as I was learning it, I was just learning the basics of business, right? And so the leapfrog theory, when you're learning the basics of business and you don't even know how to do basic targeted marketing, you're kind of floundering a little bit, Leapfrog theory is best when you can combine the power of direct response marketing or lead generation to sales phone. Like if you already have a business system that has the potentiality of working, and then you add the leapfrog concept on top of it, or then it's like rocket fuel. And the flip side of that too is, let's say you don't even know. So my last comment wasn't totally accurate, because the other side of it is you have no clue what the skill set is that you need to get to the top of a market, but by applying leapfrog thinking, which means you're just going to leap to the top, it creates a framework in which now you start asking the questions of, okay, what's required for us to get to this location or this place, right? And then you operate from that model. And so it works in both formats, right? If you are already have unique skill sets, you just need the mental reframe, or you take the mental reframe and now you just got to figure out what skill sets. And probably the latter is actually more common, to be honest with you, right? The leapfrog concept came from Robert Ringer's book, Winning Through Intimidation. I think he wrote it initially in not 1776, like 1977 or 1976, if you hear a little water in the background, I'm not in the bathroom, but actually my jet ski just came off its ramp as I'm sitting out here by the water. Kind of good timing as it was floating away. But he was I got to go back and read what he actually did, because Ringer was a guy that really struggled financially because he could never finalize the deals. Like he was like a commercial real estate broker or something like that, where he, in his book, talks about how he always got cut out of the deals, and how, he always had his hand out he was chasing business, and that he finally realized a few of these core principles of the leapfrog theory and the intimidation theory, the legal positioning. Actually, I think he calls the authority positioning theory. That's a phenomenal book. And actually, in Time Collapsing, I talk about the instant authority system and how to reverse engineer, pretty much how to get customers to come to you rather than how to get everything to come to you rather than you chase it. And it's not just law of attraction, even though later in the book I talk about the soft side of success, which is I go into my perceptions of, the universal laws and how to apply them and stuff like that. I think you'll like that a lot. Anyhow, so when going back to leapfrog theory, when I was coaching sports, one of the first things that I would do is I would have to find frames of reference that my athletes could pull from, whether they were in some ways artificially created. And what I mean by that is I either found a way to create them in practice, and then found ways of not tricking them, but creating the environment so that they believed what was happening was exactly what we kind of had planned, and that we had the capabilities of beating these higher level teams, okay, and that actually we were better than them. And so the way that works is the formula there is that when you're trying to compete or get to the higher level, you need to gain frames of reference, right, that allow you to have a belief you belong there. That's one of the first things that most people don't realize, is that it's like the chicken or the egg. It's like, do we belong here or not? And the only way to kind of figure that out is you got to get there, and you got to compete. You got to get in the trenches, and you got to get your butt kicked. And then in that, most of the time, in the initial phase of getting your butt kicked, there's going to be windows at which, assuming your team has comparable skill set level, right? I mean, sometimes if you're just totally outmanned, it's very, very hard to do this, because even if you're the best coach in the world, your team just will not, your team will get completely outperformed. So what you're looking for, though, is if we have the capability, maybe we're lacking in experience, we're lacking in different ways, we need to find the windows at which we're there or outperforming the other team. And that's what's got to be stuck in the head of your team when they walk away from that first initial experience competing. And so, like, one trick I would do, I'll tell you, like, one trick. This is like I don't know if this is an exact frame of leapfrog theory, but one thing I would do is I would, if we were losing to a team, I would find windows of where we actually outperform them. And so this might sound kind of crazy, but like, let's say the score was 18-8. I might say to the team, like, well, look, if you look at the score, it was 13-3 how we started, and yet now it's 18-8. So the reality is that it's really 5-5, which puts us playing just as well as them. We just gave up some points early on. And now we just need to do X, Y, and Z as we come out. So that's kind of like a mental reframe inside of sports, and like how I would use it in competition. And then let's say we played a team and came out and we lost. I would again go to those points in time where we played very, very well, and I would convince them through framing of my language and of recalling the experiences of the game, that this is what they're going to focus on, so that there's a switch in their head that is like, yeah, maybe we did lose, 25-10, but coach is right, and we do belong here, and this is what we're going to improve on, and this is what we're going to do. And then, you build on that. And so mentally, that's where you go, right? And so that has worked very, very well for me as a coach and with the teams that I've worked with. I remember back in college, we played the reigning national champions in one of the first tournaments we played, and the tournament was like, pool play, 2 games, and like there was not 2 out of 3, it was just 2 games, and we took a game off them, and that was such a mental reframe for us that I think we actually finished second in the tournament, that we actually came back and we played them in the championship and lost in 3 games. But like those reference points reframes how you completely operate, how you train, how you prepare, and how you see yourself. And as you see in the book, I talk a lot about changing the perceived identity, because once you change the perceived identity, you change everything else, kind of just layers, like all the dominoes fall behind that first domino. And that's in the identity, and how we see ourselves is the most important thing. So like when so if you're coaching, or if you're part of an organization that like is trying, you have to shift that relative self-perception of our expectation early on. And you do that by reformatting, how we see ourselves, right? You do that by pulling from the reference points that support the new framework, right? Because those are the things that are going to accelerate and kind of brainwash the organization and or the athletes and the whole team culture and component. So that's one of the core things that the whole book's about, is if we can reformat and rearrange how we see that first domino, everything else falls perfectly behind that. So cool. So that's it. My wife's here. We are going to unload the truck. The babies went to the neighbors, and I'm doing a podcast. And that's it. So have an awesome day. Hopefully you like this time collapsing files, and we will talk soon.